Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to give a presentation with the title of Late Transition to Parenthood in Hong Kong. And this is a joint work with my postdoc, Dr. Yijing He, and she's not here today, and I'm presenting on behalf of us too. So what is the study is about? So this study particularly examined the late transition to motherhood in Hong Kong over the period of 1981 to 2019. And we're defining a mother or a woman having their first child at the age 35 plus as late transition to motherhood. And in this study, we actually first try to examine the time trend of late transition to motherhood in Hong Kong, and then make a cross-country comparison, particularly with some Western countries, to understand the level of prevalence of late parenthood in Hong Kong from a more international perspective. And then we try to really understand and examine the factors associated with a late transition to motherhood in Hong Kong. We particularly focus on three factors, and the first one, we're focusing on the parents' relationship at the time of childbirth. And we also focus on the role of mother's education and mother's occupation at the time of their first childbirth. So we actually use the data that is Hong Kong birth registration data. And particularly, we're focusing on the first births among Hong Kong local women, and these women are either born in Hong Kong or holding Hong Kong permanent residency. And in this study, we applied logistic regression. Our outcome variable is rather simple. It is a binary, and we define whether a first birth occurred to a woman aged 35 plus or not. So this is mainly about all the data methods part. Now let's looking at the result. So this graph shows the proportion of first births, or the proportion of late first births among all first births. And you can see that over time, we do see the proportion of first birth happen at age 35 plus, increasing very dramatically from 2% to about 25% over the past 4 decades. And we also see the transition to motherhood at the age 35 to 39 or 40 plus, both rose substantially. And then we make a cross-country comparison. So in this graph, we try to really understand the prevalence of this late transition to motherhood from the international perspective. So we can see that among all the 4 Asian societies, the proportion of babies born to mothers aged 35 plus actually exceeded 20%. While we can say, compared to many Western countries shown in this figure, late transition to motherhood was more prominent in the 4 East Asian societies. Now let's looking at the role of parents' relationship at the birth time, or the maternal education and occupation role. So in this graph, it shows the role of parents' relationship actually really changing it. So for the first period, from 1981 to 1995, the probability of later motherhood was really highest among the cohabiting women and exhibit a very increasing trend. And over the 1995 period to 2005, married women caught up quite quickly and reaching the same level with cohabiting women. And since 2006, we actually see the later motherhood among the single women surged and overtook the other 2 groups in the later 2010s. And what about the role of mother's education across these 3 groups, across the married women, across the cohabiting women, and the single women? So the role of maternal education, we find first, within the context of marriage and cohabitation, that women with low education were most likely to have first late births. And we also observe a very obvious U-shaped trend or U-shaped relationship between mother's education and late motherhood. Or you can say it's not U-shaped or J-shaped. So this is the one thing. And the last thing is about mother's occupation. We actually find a very similar U-shaped relationship among married women and cohabiting women in terms of mother's occupation. It's not showing here. But we find something that very different among single women. We actually find that the probability of late births among single women in highly skilled jobs rose significantly and reaching about 40% in the 2010s. And also, we observe a kind of positive occupation gradient among this group of women. So to summarize what we actually find overall, first one, late transition to motherhood is rising rapidly in Hong Kong, a phenomenon more prominent than many Western countries. And late parenthood was first more practiced by cohabiting women and then caught up by married women, and recently more practiced by single women, particularly single women in highly skilled jobs. And lastly, for most of the study period, maternal education and occupation demonstrate a U-shaped relationship with late motherhood in the context of marriage and cohabitation. So that's all. Thank you.